Hey up, Sofa Squad. We are live. Welcome to On the Sofa number 14. And well, I say we are live. I am live because I'm on my own this time, it seems. But I'm live, back on the sofa with a brand new intro. Let me know what you think of the new intro in the comments if you're watching this after the fact, or if you watch it, later on, or even if you're watching it now. But it seems that no one's watching yet. But still, I press on. It's Thursday. It's 10 o'clock. It's on the sofa, and the first story that I want to talk about is I got this story actually from the David Patman show. Um, you know, he made the point on his show that Biden promised $2,000 stimulus checks straight away, but 3 weeks in, and people are still waiting for their checks. They haven't materialized. And now we're talking about $1,400 instead. So I'm just wondering what that's all about, really. I think that is a question that needs to be addressed. So I looked into this, and according to CNN, actually, I'll see if I can share the screen here. Share the screen. Yeah, Biden puts $2,000 stimulus payments check back in play, according to CNN Politics. Oh. Yeah. So a $2,000 stimulus check will be at the heart of a $2 trillion COVID relief plan that President-elect Joe Biden is set to unveil Thursday evening. Well, this evening, I'm guessing. That's not this evening here in the UK, but this evening in the US. The article goes on, an economic package passed by Congress in December provided for fresh $600 stimulus payments, despite calls from politicians on both sides of the aisle for bigger checks. Biden's plan calls for adding up to $1,400 to the payments, totaling $2,000 for those eligible, according to a fact sheet provided by the administration on Thursday. So I'm beginning to see where David Patman got the $1,400 from. He's adding up to $1,400 to the existing payments, totaling $2,000 altogether. So there's the confusion. So people are getting an additional $1,400. So has he failed to keep his promise, or is he keeping his promise? It seems unclear. Let me know your thoughts. Still no one in the chat, no one waiting to come in. Okay, we press on. This could be a short show. And Matt Hancock, news on this side of the pond now. Matt Hancock has confirmed that people could face up to 10 years in prison if you hide your trip to red zones. That's that was a news story in the Independent a few days ago. What he means is if you lie about where you've come into this country from, and it transpires that you've come from one of the COVID-19 hotspots, you could get 10 years in prison. And I haven't been able to find the article in question, but there is an article here from BBC News, and I'll share that one. Got to press more buttons now. Yeah. So COVID-19, 10-year jail term for travel lies defended. If a maximum 10-year jail term for lying about recent travel history has been defended by the government. Transport Secretary Grant Shapps said the British public would expect pretty strong action, and the maximum sentence reflects the seriousness of the crime. It was criticised by former Supreme Court Judge Lord Sumpton, who said lower tariffs exist for sex offences. From Monday, people arriving in England from red list countries must isolate for 10 days in hotels costing £1,750. It follows concerns that existing vaccines being rolled out in the UK may struggle to control new virus variants identified around the world. Meanwhile, Mr. Shapps said people should not be booking holidays either in the UK or abroad, and that it was too soon for sun seekers to plan getaways. So, is 10 years too harsh? Because this Supreme Court judge, Lord Sumpton, if I'm pronouncing that right, it makes a good point. Lower tariffs exist for sex offences. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Well, this could be a short show if no one turns up, but never mind. We soldier on. But talking of Matt Hancock, something has come to light that could potentially put him in a bit of hot water. I want to share another article with you now from the Byline Times. Byline Times. Sorry. A friend of Matt Hancock wins 14.4 million PPE contract. The firm is owned by wife of a horse breeder who has donated thousands to the Health and Social Care Secretary, reports Sam Bright. A firm owned by a family associate of Health and Social Care Secretary Matt Hancock was awarded a government contract for the supply of personal protective equipment, PPE, worth £14.4 million. The government today released details of the contract awarded to CH&L Limited in April for isolation gowns. The owner of the firm has told Byline Times that due to unforeseen logistical circumstances, the contract was not fulfilled and the deposit paid by Hancock's department was returned to the government. CH&L Limited was incorporated in January 2020 with one director, a Mr. Chun Lee. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced that. In June that year, Francis Stanley was appointed as second director of the firm, and later in the year appears to have become the sole person with significant control of the company. The firm does not seem to have a website, though its company's house page states that it is an agent specialized in the sale of products and also a supplier of human health activities. Chun Lee appears to be a practitioner of traditional Chinese medicine and a member of the Newmarket Chinese Medicine Center. For her part, Stanley is a director of Newmarket Racecourse, based in Hancock's West Suffolk constituency, and has direct ties to the local MP. Primarily, her husband, Peter Stanley, also in the horse racing business, donated £5,000 to Hancock's office in June 2019. When asked about his donation to Hancock, Stanley was later quoted as saying that the minister recognizes that horse racing is more of an industry than a sport, adding, he knows better than most that we are a huge export industry and foreign currency earner. So if this is true, this is a huge scandal. And frankly, Matt Hancock should resign. I mean, he should have resigned ages ago. But he should there should definitely be an investigation, a proper investigation into this. Because this is serious. This is scandalous. Oh, we have Russ. Let's add him.
Hello, what's going on, man?
Well, I've started the show, and so far you're the only person who has turned up. How's it going?
Oh, it's all right. Just doing a little bit of writing. Was watching a movie and saw that I had some messages on Twitter, so I thought I'd come pop in, check them out, and saw a few different links for different things. But the other thing I saw a link for that was apparently over, and then I came across this one and I said, "Let me hop in there real quick and see what's going on."
Oh, brilliant! Well, thanks for dropping by. For those watching who may not know you, why don't you introduce yourself? And why don't you introduce yourself real quick?
Oh, well, I'm Russ. I have a YouTube channel that I don't do much on right now. I all over Twitter normally, and well, I do a bunch of shit, including start dumpster fires and including going after people for different things. Yeah. Other than that, there's
Brilliant.
not much to me.
Cool. I was, we've been, have you seen On the Sofa before, Russ?
I think I have a while back. I don't know if this is something new. Is this a new thing?
It's relatively new. This is the 14th one, and we've done a few
Oh,
specials as well. And we chat about the week's current events basically, on both sides of the Atlantic. And usually, oh, he's gone. Oh dear. Oh well, maybe he'll come. Maybe he'll return. Who knows? um. Oh, he's back. He's back. Good. We lost you for a second there.
Yes, I accidentally exited out when I did not mean to.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I've been talking about how Biden, he promised $2,000 stimulus checks straight away, but as
Well,
yet they haven't materialized.
so the thing is he didn't promise 2,000. He said that he promised a total of 2,000. So that would be two. That'd be 2,000 would be minus the 600 that was already sent last, like over in December.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just
So it
reading an article that said something similar. Yeah.
Yeah. So and a lot of people were getting confused. They thought that he was going to be sending 2 grand.
Hmm.
Whenever the entire time he's been saying that he was meaning a total of 2,000. And so 1,400 is what's going to end up coming our way.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of shit that has to go through that. I mean, there's a for the American government. I don't know if this is for British government or not, but in American government, there's a phrase, and I only know this because I was in the army. And that phrase is "hurry up and wait," which means that yeah, it sounds funny because you're telling people, quickly get to what you're doing, but you're gonna end up waiting for any
Yeah.
results. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much what's going on right now is that we're hurrying up. He's trying to hurry up, but he's got to wait because it's got to go through all the proper channels in order to be sent out and everything. And that's even if the rest of the government approves, which since the Democrats run now pretty much everything, they run the House, the Senate, and the uh, and the presidency.
Yeah.
That
They've got the trifecta, in other words.
Yes. So because of that, they should be uh it should run fairly smoothly, but that's not always guaranteed because of it's government and people still end up causing issues sometimes.
Yeah. And I understand Biden has been criticized um, for writing a lot of what's the term? Typical. I can't.
Executive actions.
Executive actions. Thank you. He's been doing a lot of those.
Whenever he was left with the presidency, with the previous presidency, when you're left with that, kind of have a lot to fix.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to the 4 years of incompetence that
Yeah.
we actually see someone getting things done, and
Hmm.
because he has to fix what happened within those 4 years on top of trying to get what he wants accomplished other than fixing the previous presidency's fuck ups. Excuse
Yeah.
my language. I don't know if cursing is okay for the show or not. Is it?
Um, well, it's fine.
Okay.
I doubt if this channel will ever be monetized anyway. But yeah, it's fine. I mean, we usually have a very stable milking stool on
So
here.
then yeah, you're used to words like cunt and things like that.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he likes to
Okay.
drop the C bomb. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Yeah.
But yeah, so he has to pretty much fix the previous presidency's fuck ups, and then on
Mm.
top of that, get what he wants done at the same time. So it's
Yeah.
it's gonna be a minute, and so he's gonna have a lot of things that he wants to a lot of executive actions he has. And so it's funny because the first thing that people kept going on was, oh, Sleepy Joe, he's not going to be doing anything. He's not going to get anything done, yada, yada, yada. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's doing a lot of stuff here. People are literally complaining that he's not going to do too much. Like before before he got into the presidency, the word just like sometimes certain words just screw me up. But inauguration, before his inauguration, they were complaining about him they were saying he's not going to do anything. And now they're like, oh, now he's doing too much. It's like, what?
He's damned,
like,
he's
seriously?
damned if he doesn't. He
exactly.
Can't win.
Like, he could literally accomplish nothing at all, and they'll complain about that, and which they'd have every right to. Or he can accomplish everything he sets out to, and they're still going to find a way to complain about it. And it's like, what the hell do you like? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, seriously, he could sit there and freaking get the coronavirus under control. He could then solve world hunger. He could then bring about world peace. He could then do all these other different things, cure cancer even. And what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to find a way to complain about it. They're going to find a way to complain. It's like, oh, he only cured cancer. What about AIDS? What about this? What about that? Why didn't he cure all that stuff too? He solves world peace. It's like, oh, well, what about this? It's like, God damn, can y'all ever just be fucking happy?
Yeah.
Like, my word. And it by no means am I a Biden, like, super fan type of thing. I think that what he's doing, like, his executive actions are amazing. But I still want to push for more things because, for instance, I know he's not wanting to stop fracking anytime soon. And I think that should happen, is that we should stop fracking.
Oh, I agree. It's demonstrably dangerous and bad for the environment.
Exactly. And so I want that to stop. And because, he has no, right now at least, he has no want to end it. I think that's something that we should push for. So there's a lot of different things that I really think that we still need to push for. And it's like, yes, we got somebody who's a little bit more progressive in the office, but now we still have to continue pushing. Like it's not by any means where we need to be. So we can't, yes, celebrate, whenever it was happening, celebrate that he's in office now. Be happy that he's in office. Be happy that he's going to accomplish a lot of things. But now it's time to make sure that we push for more. Like, we can't be complacent with, the few things that we know that he wants to do. We have to push. We have to continuously push and say, this is what needs to be done. This is what we need to do. And we need to not stop until something is at least in the works.
Yeah, exactly. But we don't here in the UK, we don't have executive orders.
Of course not.
I think we do have something similar, but
so when a new PM like gets office, do they have something like things that they want to accomplish and they have that all set out type of thing?
They Boris Johnson historically, did something historical with Brexit. He prorogued Parliament in order to push his Brexit deal through. But that that sort of thing only happens when as a last resort. If
Right.
you don't
Well,
have a majority, if you don't have a majority, and you
right.
can't do
But
it, and you're stuck, you can't do anything.
but right, but that's not the same as what like what I'm talking about. Like, so for instance, whenever you get a new prime minister and he gets into office, does he have
Yeah.
a list of things that he announces what he wants to accomplish while in office,
Oh
or
yeah. I mean,
things that he? Mhm.
oh yeah. I mean, everyone who wants to, who wants to become prime minister has a list
Mhm.
of policies that he wants to get through. But
Mhm.
unless his party wins a majority,
Right.
it's very difficult to get them through because it has to go through,
Right.
it has to be
But
debated in the House of Commons, and it has to be voted on. And if you
right.
don't have the votes on your side, there's not a lot you can do about it.
Right.
But
Which is fine, which is the same thing, which is kind of the same thing that an executive action is. So pretty much what happens is like when when you have people running for presidency, they
yeah,
have a campaign trail where they say the things that they want to accomplish. Like, I want to do this, and then what ends up happening is, say they win, say they say they win the election, and they go to be inaugurated in. So what ends up happening is that those his campaign promises, this on his campaign trail, the things he says, I want this to happen, is what becomes the executive actions. And then more can be added on. Like, so, for instance, like whenever it came to uh, to Biden, he had all this list of things he wanted to accomplish, and
yeah,
he said for the very first thing he wants to accomplish is getting the coronavirus under control. And then
mm,
he said that he wants all these other things. Well, as it got closer and closer towards election, he started kind of adding more onto it because of all the different failings he was seeing with Trump's presidency. And so he ends up uh, so that's why he ends up getting more and more. And then as he gets his team together and they start making plans and things like that, he adds more to it. So, but the original things that he wanted during the campaign trail become his executive actions. Now, whatever it is that, because these actions are just like, hey, this is what I want to happen. And this is what's, I'm putting into effect. Some of these things, well, quite a few of them are things that are usually put to a vote.
yeah,
And depending on, like, sometimes the, sometimes what happens is, even if you don't have the majority of voters, like that, like as if you're not, like, if you don't have a majority of the Senate or anything like that, sometimes these things can still get pressed through if enough of the opposite, um, the other party wants, if enough of them decided that they think that this is something good, then they'll help push it through. And what gets really tricky then is that when stuff like that happens, sometimes other things get attached to that. And so, like take for instance, the first relief bill. Um, the reason why it took so long to get that money to us was the fact that people were adding things onto it. Like, they were adding a bunch of other things that they wanted, onto there. And what ended up happening was the other side said no, because it was the Democratic uh, side who added things onto it, saying that this is what we want to add onto this in order to, um, to benefit us or whatever. And the Republican side said, no, this needs to be all about just relief. And so they said, so they had to scrap it, or they had to, negotiate things on there. And so they ended up, and that's why it took so long. So this is what happens in American politics, is that people start adding things on to these bills and things like that. And whenever whenever it comes to voting on it can either get passed or not. And so, like, it does help whenever you have the majority, but that's doesn't mean that having, like, even then, that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll pass. It depends on what everybody within the thing does. And it's politics are fucked up. That's all I got to say.
Yeah,
Politics
yeah.
are fucked up.
On both sides of the pond, it seems.
Yeah.
In other news, how is Trump's impeachment going?
Trump's impeachment. As far as I can tell, I haven't been keeping up with it because I don't have regular TV. I just have like Netflix and things like that. But from what I've heard, it's going about it as expected. Pretty much, they've ruled that so far that the impeachment trial is going to go on. Then that means that they're going to have pretty much. Let me think about it. Like, they were to have a total of like 2 or 3 days, like 3 days worth of debating. And
Yeah.
or wait, was it run 6? Okay, so it was like in a total of 18 hours of debate, and that means it can be spread over 3 days, which with like each day having 6 hours or something like that. It was some weird fucking thing that I heard. I don't remember, but anyways, each side were to present their case and everything like that. And from my understanding is that Trump's side of things is really that they're pretty much debating. Their side of the debate is pretty much as expected, where it's a bunch of nonsense because they're having to pretty much they're trying to like, on one hand, they're trying to sit there and say that you can't impeach a you can only impeach a sitting president, can't impeach a former president, and they're going off a bunch of other stuff. Whenever it was, they try to see if Trump's going to be there for his hearing or whatever, or for all of this. And he said the only way he would go is if he got to fly in Air Force One.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like that's gonna happen.
yeah. He was expecting Air Force One to fly down to wherever the hell he is, pick him up, and fly him over there as if he's still the president. I mean, this man is so delusional. He even made his own office
Yeah.
called Office of the Former President.
Yeah.
And like, he even had a letterhead included with an actual seal and everything. And it was like, this he's deluded.
Yeah.
He thinks that he I don't know. He thinks, oh, it's a lot of like headache inducing things when you try to think about what's going on in his brain. Um and then you still have QAnon going off about their nonsense. Some of them saying that the real elections, or the real inauguration of President Trump, is going to happen in March. Some of them are saying that he's shadow president. which is freaking amazing. Like, just listening to this. Like, have you heard of that yet?
No, I haven't.
So, shadow president, what that was saying is that during what was it? Like the weekend before Biden's inauguration happened, pretty much what they're saying is that what ended up happening was that everyone in the you have Biden, Kamala, and everyone else. They got tried for their crimes and were convicted. And so, what actually is happening is that because apparently the people couldn't handle all of that, they are pretending like all of them are still in office and stuff like that, but really Trump is still president, and that he can
Right.
now do things behind the scenes without anybody ever actually knowing. It's like, whew. It's like, what, what,
Uh,
what are you smoking exactly?
yeah.
Because that's some good shit, and I want some.
It seems like they're living in a parallel universe.
No, no, they're just living in a deluded state of reality. These are people who think that come March, the actual um, inauguration of President Trump's going to happen, or that is still president now, that he's just doing it behind the scenes. And
Right.
I've I've got to say, it's fucking astounding listening to it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yes, definitely.
And so,
Uh, so go on. Go on.
oh, it's like I'm like listening to them, and I'm just like, or I'm reading all these things. I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. I've got an article about what's happening. If I can share the screen, yeah, here we go. This is from The Guardian. Impeachment managers rest their case after calling Trump's conduct an assault on the First Amendment.
Let's say
Congressman
impeachment managers. Oh, okay, yeah.
Trump is overwhelmingly guilty of incitement of insurrection. Congresswoman, insurrectionists questioned why police tried to block them as they followed Trump's instructions. Trump's legal team will conclude arguments tomorrow. Biden reacts to riot videos. Some minds may have been changed. Pelosi says Capitol Police will receive Congressional Gold Medal. Oh, and there's an advert for their briefing by email. Anyway, so the actual article is from the
Mm,
Times. Trump was
okay.
sicker with COVID-19 in October than publicly acknowledged at the time, with extremely depressed blood oxygen levels at one point and a lung problem associated with pneumonia caused by the coronavirus, according to 4 people familiar with his condition.
Hmm.
What's that got to do with the
Well,
impeachment? I don't know.
I don't know how much of it has to do with the impeachment. I don't know if if I'm not mistaken, the impeachment. I'm not sure exactly what ground. Like, I know what grounds they're doing it on.
Yeah,
Most likely, high crimes or whatever. Which could be about the incitement of the incitement of what happened on the 6th of January.
yeah,
Um, which okay, so I have a theory on why they're bringing that up. Because in order to get people wound up in that type of frenzy, Trump has been lying to his loyal fan base. He's been lying to them constantly for the entire 4 years.
Yeah.
Part of that was he sat there and even told his loyal fan base that the only way that he would not be reelected is that there was going to be rampant fraud in the election process.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so, I mean, he's been saying that for the past like 2 years,
Yeah.
like since 2019, whenever 2020 was coming up and 2020 is the election year, and he was saying all this stuff. On top of that, you had him downplaying the coronavirus, and which caused a lot of people to be like, because I sat there and have heard a lot of people sit there and say, you know, look at the timing. Like, it's an election year. They're doing this, because of it being the election, which played into the whole entire fraud thing because of the fact that a lot of people were doing mail-in ballots because they did not want to go out in case of uh, getting what is it, catching the coronavirus. Like a
Yeah.
lot of people, like here in the States, like there's several people who like haven't like unless it was absolutely necessary, have not left their house since March of last year.
Yeah.
And so for an entire year, they've only left their house when necessary, which means like if they're working, then to go to work, um, or to go get groceries, or to do these type of things. Um, and so some of them haven't seen like their families and things like that. So these are people who did not feel comfortable going out, and so he sat there and cast doubt on the mail-in ballots. And so, and he was saying that that's where all this rampant fraud was going to happen, and how all this rampant fraud was going to be because of this. So you have people who are making connections of um, the coronavirus is being upplayed because of them wanting to do mail-in ballots, which then caused the fraud for the election. And so what you then end up having is people um, playing off of this and they keep building up, and then him constantly lying to them. And so then he contracts the coronavirus and downplayed his symptoms
Yeah.
to the public, which then helps, lead credence to what he said earlier about how they were upplaying the coronavirus to get people to do mail-in ballots to commit fraud. So that could be why they brought up his him having the virus, and him downplaying his symptoms, because of the fact that all of that ends up being kind of tied into a cumulative case on what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So, but his impeachment trial continues.
Oh yeah, it's continuing. They're still going on it. It's probably going to be the entire week, if not more. Um, and you have one side trying to sit there and say that you have his side over here saying that this is unnecessary because he's already out of office. We just need to move on, which I disagree with, because the fact is like we can't sit there and move on from this without
Yeah.
actual consequences to your actions.
Yeah.
Because if you were saying that these people, and because um, this includes the people in who stormed the Capitol. If you're saying that these people can sit there and be do away with all of that and say they hold on. Okay, sorry. So when you say that people are doing this, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, whenever you have people who commit crimes, if you try to brush those under the rug, you're effectively saying that the laws of our country are made to be followed by a certain group of people. And if that's the case, then why are rules meant for me but not for thee? And that's really agitating, because in a way of speaking, it's almost saying that these like laws are meant for poor people and not the more wealthier people.
Yeah.
And so that's aggravating, and that makes me angry, because it's like that freaking sucks.
Yeah.
And it makes people want to question if laws can be broken by others, then what is the motivation for me to follow with these laws?
Yeah, exactly. And it, in my opinion, a precedent needs to be set here. That be it a president or a former president, cannot get away with inciting insurrection.
No. And because, like, I mean, a president is like the highest up in our, um, the president is the highest, place in our society, in America's society. And if you're saying that he can break laws and get away with it, then who else can break laws and get away with it? Because it's definitely not us poor people.
Yeah.
Poor people cannot poor people can't get away with that, because I can tell you right now, I know a lot of people who've broken laws and gone to jail for it.
Yeah.
And so the poor people aren't getting away with it. So where does that limit go to? Because even some of the more higher up rich people break laws and still get away with it. So it gets to the point where it's like, where's that cutoff line? And if that cutoff line is anywhere below, even the president, like there shouldn't be a cutoff line. And if there is a cutoff line, then that is saying that laws are meant for only a specific group of people to follow, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here. African and Humanist says, I've been listening in the background. Did I hear right that some people think Trump is coming back in March? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
one of the Q conspiracies. Like Sophie said. It's them pretty much deluding themselves and thinking that there's no way that Trump is not president, or Trump won't be president because of reasons.
Yes. Exactly. Um, anyways, I think we've talked enough about Trump now.
Oh yes, we have.
Yeah, there's another story that I want to highlight, if I may. Um, oh, pressed the wrong thing here. Hang on.
Mm.
So because it's, yeah, the cut, this is from The Cut. The US is seeing a massive spike in anti-Asian hate crimes. Have you heard about this?
Anti-Asian hate crimes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Uh, the article says last week, actors Daniel Day Kim and Daniel Wu announced that they were offering a $25,000 reward to anyone who could help identify the person who was caught on camera shoving a 91-year-old man in Oakland's Chinatown. The attack came amid a sudden and massive rise in the number of hate crimes against Asian Americans across the country, a phenomenon many activists argue is not getting as much media attention as it deserves. The skyrocketing number of hate crimes against Asian Americans continues to grow despite our repeated pleas for help, Kim wrote. The crimes ignored and even excused. Remember Vincent Finn. And there's his tweet at there's his tweet there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag enough is enough. And he links, there's a link there to the footage
At least, yeah.
of that he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And people are blaming Trump's rhetoric for this,
Yeah.
and calling the coronavirus the China virus.
Yeah. And people here in America are definitely bigoted because we have people who look at any person of Asian descent and will automatically connect them with whoever it is that they hate at that moment. So back in the days, like it would be like the Japanese, like anybody with Asian descent is like, oh, you Japanese motherfucker, and then people would be like, I'm not Japanese, and like it's the same thing over there because they're bigots. And then so
Yeah,
now it's of course China because of the fact that calling it the China virus, it's calling it the China virus means that it's saying that like there's a lot of it's loaded because while it's not inaccurate at the same time it's not accurate, if you know what I mean.
yeah,
Because the biggest conspiracy behind that was that it was developed in a lab, which that's not the case.
no,
It originated over in China, yes, but calling it the China virus is linking it to the people when it's not the people's fault. It's it's
yeah,
like it's aggravating because, like I said, it's not inaccurate, but it's not accurate. So it's like, ugh, like you really want to punch people in the mouth for saying it. But anyways, um, so how some people feel the need to attack people who don't look like them. It's very very crazy. It's horrendous. And people, white people, more specifically, do this often, do it more than any other race,
yeah,
it's it's sad because here in America, I've heard people say to Native Americans, like people whose family originated here before white people, they told the Native Americans, "Go back to your homeland."
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, just hearing that, it's like aggravating, because it's like, and the thing is Trump's presidency saw a spike in this. Like we had more people. Like, the very second Trump decided to run for presidency, and he talked about how he's going to build a wall, you
Yeah.
know, at the border of Mexico, and how he's going to make Mexico pay for it. And then he started talking about how the great majority, pretty much, of immigrants from Mexico were horrible, horrendous people.
Yeah.
And people heard this. And then you had the people who sit there and were like, no, that's not correct at all. Then you had the pretty much the racists who sat there and agreed with it. And it's like,
Yeah.
and they try to sit there and try to make it seem like they're not racist when just sitting there saying, yeah, I agree with the president when he said the majority of people coming over here are rapists.
Yeah.
It's aggravating. And
Yeah.
so I sit there and so we saw a spike in this. And like, this was things that, I mean, I'm not going to say that this was things that hadn't been done before, because they most certainly have. Uh, we've been having to deal with people like that for years upon years, like since pretty much this, the end of the Civil War. We've been dealing with people who are like that.
Yeah.
And it's but what happened is that later on, like closer to, but like a little bit before President Trump, probably like we didn't hear too much about it. Like, we saw the occasional video of somebody doing it, but those were few and far between. But as President Trump comes into play, we saw it more and more and more.
Yeah.
And that's concerning.
Yeah. And people wanted to argue, well, it's not racist calling it the China virus because after all, it originated in Wuhan, China. But it's the way that Donald Trump put emphasis in the tone in his voice, when he said China. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's like,
he put
the
emphasis
China
on the
virus.
yeah, and he knew exactly what he was doing. I mean, you can call it a dog whistle. It's dog whistle rhetoric, but it's no longer a dog whistle. You know, because a dog whistle is only only the dogs can hear it, but everyone could hear what he was saying. It was
Right.
an actual it was a whistle, and a human whistle.
No, this wasn't even just a dog whistle. This was like a yell. This was
Yeah,
screaming.
yeah,
I mean, it's not even just the I'm not a racist but type of statement. Like, it was just a full out, hey, this is a racist statement.
yeah,
And it's aggravating. It really is.
yeah,
Um that's why I tend to try to speak out against this shit as much as possible, because we have so many people who are trying to hide their racism.
yeah,
And that gets aggravating, because I would rather have my racist openly racist, because then I can say, oh, I know who you are.
yeah,
Whereas when you have the ones that are like, I'm not racist, I'm just saying that this is an issue. This is a problem that I see. And it's like, no. Like, I argue with a lot of people mainly whenever it comes to like systemic racism.
Yeah,
Um, I had one guy even so here in America, um, like a lot of the systemic racism that has happened, like the laws that have been put into effect, happened in the '60s, and these are laws that are still showing, like we are still having, effects from those laws, and they're still playing a great majority into what's going on. And what ends up happening is because these happened in the '60s, people are like, well, you can't use those because those are no longer in effect. So it's like, but no, we still see the effects of those laws from that time frame. I mean,
yeah.
this is like, for instance, like the whole entire war on drugs was started from racism. A lot of people don't know that, or well, a lot of people probably do know that. Yes, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called The Frustrated Atheist, or just Frustrated Atheist. It's called. Um, I haven't done much with my channel, but I do plan on doing a little bit more here in the future, sometime whenever I finally get around to it. So, um, but, uh, but yeah, it's so I sit there and I go off on people, and I sit there and show that even just the police force itself really is a racist thing because of how it got from it was racist from its very from the you know from Jump Street. Uh, so, and what I mean by that is that the very first police force that we ever had was put together from the old uh, runaway slave hunters,
Oh
like the
yeah,
people who, whenever slaves ran away, the people who chased after them with the dogs and everything were the very first police force. And a lot
yeah,
of their stations that they had became the first police stations here in America. And people don't want to realize, like they sit there and they'll say, "Yeah, that's true," but but they're totally different now. And it's like, mm, I don't think they are. They really aren't.
Hmm.
They're like these are you know they still sit there and disproportionately go after black people more than they do white people.
Yeah,
They still follow laws that help incarcerate black individuals. That they tend to go after them more often than not. Um, they they do a lot of different things that are just like, no, no, stop it.
yeah,
And it is definitely an issue, and it's one that we need to focus on, that we need to make better. And until people start actually seeing that for the issue it is, things aren't going to get better.
mm,
And with the fact that there's so many racists around, it's harder and harder to get people. I mean, it's harder and harder to get people to understand that this is a problem. And if
yeah,
we don't get them to see it's a problem, then nothing will get done.
exactly. Um, anyway, um, are you how familiar are you with British politics, Russ?
I haven't, like, I hate to say I'm not all that familiar. The extensiveness of my familiarity with British politics is this. I do know that the Queen herself really doesn't have like a lot of the power that the monarch used to have from back in the day. That mainly the prime ministers and the rest of the parliament has more control over the UK. I do know that y'all have different parties like the UKIP and all these other things. I do know your Tories are like our Republicans or our
Yeah.
and I don't know what the other group is called. Uh,
The, well, the other group is called the Labour Party.
the Labour Party. There we go.
Yeah, they're like pretty much like the Democrats,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're the other main. There are other parties, but the Labour Party are the other
Right.
main party. You've got
The
the
Labour Party and the
Conservatives,
Tories.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the Tories are in power at the moment with a huge majority. But unfortunately, the Labour Party they're unable to form an effective opposition at the moment because they're in trouble. They're divided because what I don't know if you've heard of Jeremy Corbyn.
Uh-huh.
Jeremy Corbyn, he's kind of like Bernie Sanders.
Okay. The
He
name
you know
sounds a
he
little familiar.
yeah he was the leader of the Labour Party before,
Hmm.
um, but unfortunately, the Conservative Party he failed to lead the Labour Party into government,
Uh,
and what happened was the Conservative Party won by a massive landslide, and so Jeremy Corbyn had to leave, basically. Now,
mm.
a guy called Keir Starmer, I guess he's more on Biden's side of the political spectrum. He's more of a centrist.
Well, that's the funny thing is that Biden's not even a centrist.
Hmm.
Biden, whenever you actually look at him on the political compass, uh, Biden is not too far off from Trump.
Okay, okay,
He's still more towards the left than Trump is, but because of the fact that our Overton window is so far pushed to the right, it
yeah,
seems like he is on the left, or
I see. Yeah,
he seems far left. Like as like when you look at the actual like political things in general, most of
yeah,
what even what most of what even like Bernie Sanders
yeah,
wants is more centrist positions.
mm, yeah,
But people here in America label these people as far left. And that's
yeah,
because we're that far off towards the right. And
yeah,
so like Biden's not even left leaning. He's not even centrist. He's still on the right side of the political compass. He's just not as right as Trump is.
yeah. But anyway, unfortunately, what happened? What happened under Corbyn is that a lot of people, a lot of left-leaning MPs, a lot of left-leaning people came into the Labour Party, and so you've left with these Corbynites, as they're known as, still, they're
Mm-hmm.
still there, and
Yeah.
they're giving Keir Starmer a hard time, and uh, but also Keir Starmer. Oh, hi, Germania. Hi. um, African Humanist is asking. This is a silly question. Put it on the screen. Um, but right and left, what do those mean? I know political parties, but why
So
are they left or right?
okay, so what happens is so left and right, what those means is so like right is more conservative. Means that You're more about less government control and more individual liberties, if you will, sort of. They don't want the government in, like, at least here in America. I can't really speak for UK, but here in America, when you're on the right side of the things, you're conservative, which means that you don't want the government in a lot of your uh, business in your personal life,
Yeah.
and you tend to want less government involvement and more I can't really think of the word here. But then when you go over to the left side of the spectrum, you tend to be more socialistic. You tend to want government to help out with a lot of different things. Um, and you tend to there's a lot of, like, it's really hard to explain. But that's kind of the gist of it, is that uh right wants less government, and they tend to have different thoughts about, like, thoughts about abortion, thoughts about um,
Hmm.
a bunch of different things of the nature, like things that, like, whenever let's just say they don't want the government involved in a lot of things, except for
Hmm.
whenever it comes to the things that they want to push. The left wants government's help with a lot of things, uh,
Yeah.
but they don't want them interfering with things like with certain things. It's, like I said, it's hard, and it goes back to what I said earlier about how politics are fucked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to explain it, is that politics are
Yes.
fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we could spend a whole hour talking about the difference between left and right. But I think you got it in a nutshell, Russ. I think you put it quite well. But basically, the conservatives, or at least traditionally, they want to conserve things. They want to conserve um, the countryside. They want to conserve family values. They want to
Hmm.
conserve, what you might call Christian values. And they want to. They don't want to spend money. They'd rather save it for a rainy day. And but socialists, or people on the left, they want to spend money. They want to. They want or or rather they would rather put it. They want to invest money, and they want they want to bring things like the railways, the energy, and the water supply into public ownership.
Right.
And yeah, so yeah, they the go and they want to support the workers' rights,
Yeah.
basically. And so anyway, so you you've got these Corbynites, these left-leaning, MPs in the Labour Party, and giving Keir Starmer and people on his side a hard time. So there's division in the Labour Party at the moment, and I can just share the article. Yes, here we go. Oh, close that. Yeah, this is from the Express. Keir Starmer facing leadership coup as ruthless Corbynites plot to oust Labour leader. Corbynites in
Wait.
the Labour Party are organising a ruthless campaign to oust Sir Keir Starmer if his popularity continues to drop.
Hmm.
Because the problem is for whatever reason, Keir Starmer has failed to. You'd think, during a pandemic and during, an economic, downturn, and and
Mm-hmm.
everything that's happening with Brexit, the opposition party, the Labour Party, would be going, would be, racing ahead in the polls, but they're
Mm-hmm.
not. They have, they failed to do so.
Right.
And so people are criticizing Keir Starmer. They're saying he's weak. He's a weak leader. He's not doing a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
The Labour Party should be polling a lot better by now.
Yeah.
And so the Corbynites are apparently, threatening to get rid of him basically as leader if he fails to
Mm-hmm.
improve.
Yeah.
Um, which is ironic because that's exactly what happened to Jeremy Corbyn. He was
Yeah.
constantly facing challenges to his leadership when he was the leader of the Labour Party,
Mm-hmm.
and now the same thing is happening to Keir Starmer.
Yeah.
So
And what
you know,
what makes it even
they,
funnier
they,
though, what makes it even funnier though, is that this is coming from Corbyn's loyal fan base. It's like
yeah,
Corbyn gets voted out because of ineffective leadership. And so his loyal fan base is like, we wanting to, force him out because of ineffective leadership. And it's like in a way, it's kind of like irony or something, like because it's like the self awareness isn't there. It's like,
yes,
for one
yeah,
thing, but on the other hand, it almost kind of seems like tit for tat because it's our guy got forced out because of ineffective leadership. So we want that guy forced out for ineffective leadership. And it's like,
yeah,
in one hand, I can see where they're coming from, and I can be like, yeah, you definitely need to, have effective leadership. And on the other hand, like I said, it just seems kind of tit for tat. So it's like, eh.
yeah. And the upshot of it all is that the Labour Party are failing to form an effective opposition.
Mm-hmm.
They're not able to do their jobs. Their job as the opposition party. So it's quite sad, really.
Yeah.
And we if things continue the way they're continuing, we could have Boris Johnson as prime minister for I, I dread to think how long. I mean, we don't have a general election for another 4 years. We've definitely got another 4 years of Boris Johnson. We could have 8 years the way things are going.
Yeah. Do like if like is there any like term limits? Like can he serve, like X amount of terms, or like if he keeps getting reelected, could he just be there until he dies?
Well, that is a good question because Margaret Thatcher is,
Mm-hmm.
she's our longest serving prime minister.
Uh-huh.
I think she had 3 terms, and she could have got a fourth term, but her own party got fed up with her. She
Hmm.
outstayed her welcome. Excuse me.
No.
And so
Okay, so like,
they ousted her basically.
right.
They challenged her leadership, and uh, John Major became the leader of the Conservative Party and de
Mm-hmm.
facto prime minister
Mm-hmm. So
instead.
so so like, but theoretically, somebody could
Oh,
be. prime minister for like from like their for like let's say like how old do you have to be a prime minister?
That is another good question. Actually, I don't know. I I honestly don't know. But yeah, but technically, you could be prime minister indefinitely so long as your party keeps getting re-elected.
Oh, okay, so yeah, so like I said, effectively, until like I mean, because like here in America, like in order to be run for presidency, you have to be at least 45 years old,
Okay.
and so like let's say that over in the UK, let's say it's the same age for prime minister. Okay,
Yeah.
not saying it is, but let's say it is. So technically, you could have somebody who runs at 45, gets elected, and can be there until their death. And let's say they die at like 100 years. So you could have the same prime minister for basically what's 100 minus 48? That's two. Uh
I've just looked it up on Google. And it says
huh.
you'll need to be over 18 years of age to be a UK, Republic of Ireland, or Commonwealth citizen. Oh, that's something different. That's weird.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Um, how old do you have to be? Hang on, I'm still looking in that case.
Mhm.
What is the age limit for someone to stand for Prime Minister in the UK? There isn't one in law. In modern practice, to be Prime Minister, you have to be the leader of the largest party and a member of the House of Commons. Minimum legal age is 18. However, in reality, it is hard to see someone managing that before the age of 40 or so. So, in theory, you
Okay,
could
so
be
40.
18, but in
Okay, so in theory,
reality,
oh,
in practice, you about 40.
okay, so 40. So, anyways, so let's say from 40 until they're 100 years old when they die, you could effectively have a prime minister for what's that, 80 years?
Yeah,
No, 60 years. My bad.
no, yeah,
That's
60
six,
years.
yeah, 60 years. So you could
Mm,
effectively have a prime minister for 60 years.
yeah, and if that prime minister
In theory, of course.
is anything like Boris Johnson, it doesn't bear thinking about. But in practice, what tends to happen is the back benches, the members of parliament in the party who hold the prime minister and the
Mhm,
cabinet to account, they they will get bored of you, or and um, they will put forward a vote of no confidence in you. And if if that vote goes through, then you can be ousted, and
mhm,
then there's a new leadership race, and a new leader is voted for.
mhm.
That's it in a nutshell. Anyway, um, and then that's what happened to Theresa May, one of our former prime ministers, when
Yeah.
she had this very difficult task of getting through her Brexit deal and with a
I
minority
vaguely
government.
remember Theresa May.
Yeah, and she tried 3 times to get this deal through
Mhm,
and failed. And so there was a vote of no confidence in her, and she had to step down. And and Boris Johnson, won the leadership contest,
mhm,
and so he's now our prime minister. And then he went on to win a majority.
hmm.
So he's going to be prime minister for at least another 4 years. and maybe longer if the Labour Party can't sort can't come together and become united
Yeah.
and form an effective opposition.
Yeah. Well, I've had a blast talking to you, as I normally
Yeah,
do whenever I talk to you, Sofa. But
yeah,
I think I'm gonna head off. I got some stuff I gotta get done. But
oh,
it was definitely nice chatting with you.
yeah. And yeah, it's been nice. Yeah, it's been great chatting with you as well.
Yeah. We need to make sure that we don't have these chats like as far in between as we have been.
Yeah, well,
This
yeah,
is,
yeah, definitely. And yeah,
but I
yeah.
do
Thanks
want to
for
read. I,
talking.
I want to read this real quick before I head off. The African Humanist says, in Africa, it's completely different. The leaders are so power hungry, they never want to leave. I think it is Uganda. The president just won again, and he's been there 36 years apparently. Oh, don't
Yeah,
worry. Pretty much it's almost the same just about everywhere. In a lot of other places, like I mean, for instance, in Russia, Putin has been power hungry, and he kept himself. He's kept himself in as president of Russia for how many years now? Then you have the North Korea with Kim Jong Un, who
yeah,
his family is in power the entire time, and I think in Venezuela they have a dictatorship over there that does kind of the same thing. Yeah. Um, that's what happens whenever people get power and they have a country that tends to not have a lot of kind of structure in place to look out for the well-being of the entire country. Um, Unfortunately, and it is pretty sad.
yeah, yeah.
All right, but like I said,
Um,
I got to go. Mike, as I said, love talking to you. We need to make
yeah,
sure we don't have these. We need to make sure that we talk more often. We don't talk nearly as often as I would like.
yeah, yeah. We'll have to do something together soon, I think.
Yes, yes, we will.
Yeah. Anyway, subscribe to Russ's channel. The link is in the chat. I'll put a link in the description as well. And so yeah, subscribe. And yeah, um, see you again soon.
Alrighty, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Okay,
All right. Bye bye.
bye. And okay, so I'm just going to finish up now. Now that Russ has left us, I'm just going to finish up with we've got two and finally stories. The first one is well, I'll share the screen first, and then we'll I'll talk about it. I don't know if people saw this this story that this lawyer from Texas he had to tell a judge, "I am not a cat," after getting the cat filter stuck on his Zoom call. It was hilarious. He came on this into this Zoom meeting with this cat filter on, and he couldn't turn it off. And the video went viral. Actually, actually, I'll see if I can share it with sound. Let's. I think I have the facilities to do this. Let's see. Oh yeah, share audio. Just check that box and share that again.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a look.
trying to, can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to this.
I'm not a cat. That is hilarious. I've been laughing about that for days now. That is just hilarious. What a classic line, though. I am not a cat. And oh dear. Oh, the article says this. This is from The Guardian. Less than a week since the nation was gripped by a parish council fever, a phrase that feels mortifyingly British to have to write, another Zoom-based viral video has swept the internet. This time, the setting is Presidio, Texas, and the meeting in question is a court hearing, reportedly for a man who attempted to leave the US with contraband cash. It came to the attention of the world when the presiding judge in the case posted a snippet from the proceedings online, saying, if a child used your computer before you join a virtual hearing, check the Zoom video options to be sure the filters are off. The video, a perfect 40 seconds, shows 3 lawyers about to begin proceedings. However, one of these lawyers is not like the others. One of these lawyers, who goes by the apparently real name of Rod Ponton, is a cat. So that's the first and finally stories. And the second one is this is a story from one of our tabloids. Oh, if I can get this to work. I was trying to do it. And this is the story I'll leave you guys with. It's not responding. Oh dear. Yes, there's 2 of me now. Let's see if I can remove that. Yeah, I'm back. I don't know what happened. My computer decided to play up on me. Let's see if I can share that again. Goodness me. Yeah. So yeah, Perth bonked sex ass made of snow. Oddball suffers frostbite of the cock after romp. yeah, this is from the Daily Sports. I just wanted to share that with you guys. That's just so yeah. Anywho, on that bombshell, I will sign off and sign out. But before I go, if you want to support this channel, you can. You can become a patron, and there are various benefits for becoming a patron. Or you can buy me a coffee, and the links to the links to those are in the description box down below. So if you want to support this channel, those are the best ways to go about it. And also in the description box there should be a link to my Discord. So check that out. So that said, thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week, next Thursday, the same time, 10 p.m. That's 10 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. And if you're new, do subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss another video. Okay, bye for now.